Hi. Yeah, this is kind of off the cuff speaking and rambling here, but I feel like the Butcher Circus has a bit of a problem. It's to nobody's surprise that even upon release, this community within Darkest Dungeon was a very small subsection of this community, which in itself isn't the biggest community to begin with in the first place, regardless of like streamers and other people in the mainstream internet bringing light to the game. Uh, that being said, across the years, it's definitely made waves in the internet through memes, content creation, and even tournaments present to help boost the numbers in the community, right? But as events die down, and the circus definitely has a problem with its player count. Now, like I've already said, it's a very niche game with a very tightly knit bubble of communities, more specifically separating between the English speaking community and the Chinese community. And that kind of causes overlap, as in seen in the tournament that took place a few months ago, and like other events that have taken place prior. And for a while now, the game has had a stagnant player count due to like the game being feature complete and everything. That means less drip fed to the content to the game means less people want to try it out, which leads to the type of game passing, resulting in lower player counts. So obviously strategies are formed and metas are made, and therefore everything about the game will be explored and unraveled, which can only be happen and be interpreted so many times. It kind of means that not many new players will want to try out the circus and leaves the darkest ranked players to find among themselves. So there's like a big skill gap, which, yeah. This change can happen when the game goes on sale. For a hefty discount, like this can change when it goes on discount. Usually partnered with the second game, which in a way already dissuades people from joining the Butcher Circus as it gets thrown to the backlog in favor for wanting to play like the newer games like Darkest Dungeon 2, which is like apparently meant to be more polished and everything. But that's just what I think anyway. That aside, when the new player like eventually does want to go to the circus, they really find themselves outmatched by people that have, a better fundamental understanding of how the game works and better trinkets. This is, usually the case in multiplayer games, or at least sometimes in multiplayer games like TF2. But this can be mitigated through guides, strategies, and teaching to get better, to bridge that gap sometimes. It's not always effective though. And this is an issue that isn't really fixed right away, as players when they start out don't really want to search up guides on how to play. But yeah, I mean, in reality, this isn't the grand issue in the scheme of things. But the domino effect that appears from this can involve many newer players feeling like very frustrated against arguably one-sided matchups more and more. And with how often the first Darkest Dungeon goes on sale now, this frustration will get more and more apparent, which I believe will lead to less players willing to try out the game mode in general through word of mouth, and therefore less potential players that will be in the community as a whole and would want to stick around. Not only on the new players, but this has a flip effect. Like it's got an opposite effect. Not an opposite, but it's got an effect on the more veteran players. For each unfair matchup a new player has to face, the max rank players get bored of the lack of challenge. I can tell you this because I have one of those people that has this frustration on ladder. It's honestly a part of the reason why I haven't made that much circus content as of late. I will admit it's more of a problem with no dedicated ranked matchmaking between players. That's like a major issue, and I believe that's something that should be added on and not just slapped in when we're talking about the circus. But this will also mean that less sales bringing in new people. But these issues definitely go both hand in hand, given the massive influx of newbies every time the game goes on a 70% discount, which is quite often now. It's just very, a pattern that I've seen, and probably a lot of you have seen. There's a bit of a fly on my mic. I had to pick that off, but it's probably a pattern everyone else has noticed, but I'm just wanting to talk about it now. I remember Darkness and myself having a conversation about this, and to quote him, he thinks it happens because it's a seasonal game. We get hyped over the tournaments, playing ladder itself. Heck, him recording YouTube of playing best ofs is better than playing ladder versus 5 apprentices every 4 matches, and here's the 5th apprentice. But yeah, like you said, we get excited over new and interesting things. It's like the Return the Medulla event that happens like tri-monthly in Dark Souls 2. It never seems to go anywhere, but it manages to get a few people starting to play it again. But back to the circus stuff. But as of now, it feels like the circus has died down to a somewhat stale, stagnant ladder farming simulator again. Like I've said before, it might have always been the case like that. I haven't really been around this community for that long. I've been around it for like, what, a year and a half maybe? Like others that have experienced this for like 5 years. But it's definitely an issue I wanted to make a quick video about, just to voice my concern with the game at its current state. But yeah, definitely curious on what you all want to think about this. Am I onto something, or is it just like unnecessary ramblings of a madman that we probably shouldn't have to worry about? Yeah, Cool. Goodbye. Boo.